Welcome back. If you've just joined us, you're watching the news at 10, broadcasting on Channels Television live from Lagos. We now bring you some of the pictures you sent to our Eyewitness portal. First is this one showing what our Eyewitness reporter calls an illegal electricity connection by residents of Twin Street, Calabar, Cross River State. He wants the PHCN to intervene to avoid fire outbreak or damage to electricity installations in the area. Next is this one showing a dilapidated classroom at Emiebam Secondary School in Owerri, in Imo State. Our Eyewitness reporter says this abandoned government school needs urgent attention. Finally, our reporter sent in this picture of an accident on Lagos-Ibadan Expressway. He says the rate of accidents on that road is quite alarming, and he wants the FRSC officials to pay more attention to commuters on that road. Well, thank you for sending those pictures, and we hope you keep them coming. There seems to be fresh attention on the home of the former National Security Advisor, retired Colonel Sambo Dasuki, as men of the Department of State Security have increased their presence there. It is not exactly known why the fresh occupation is taking place, but there are strong indications that Colonel Dasuki is being prevented from seeking medical attention abroad. But agency reports say he's been placed under house arrest. The former NSA was charged to court with illegal possession of firearms following a siege to his Abuja home and subsequent arrest in July. The charge against him was later expanded to include money laundering. He has, however, pleaded not guilty to the charges. A federal high court in Abuja had on Tuesday, the 3rd of November, granted Mr. Dasuki permission to travel abroad for medical attention, pending the commencement of his trial on November the 26th and 27th. Ruling on the application filed by Mr. Dasuki, Justice Adeni Ademola granted the former National Security Advisor a period of 3 weeks within which to take care of his health abroad. In the meantime, the Department of State Security Service has debunked the claim that its operatives invaded the home of the former National Security Advisor in defiance of a court order granting him permission to travel abroad for medical treatment. The DSS, in a statement, explained that the action by its officers is caused by the refusal of Mr. Dasuki to honor an invitation by a committee investigating his alleged involvement in the $2 billion arms procurement process by the past administration. The statement adds that his refusal to appear before the committee compelled the DSS to adopt a legal means to ensure his attendance. Civil servants in Kogi State have shut their offices and boycotted work. They are protesting the non-release of 50.8 billion naira bailout funds approved by the Central Bank of Nigeria. The sum is expected to offset the backlog of salaries owed. This development is in compliance with a directive jointly issued to the civil servants by the Nigeria Labour Congress and the Trade Union Congress. In the meantime, Labour leaders in the state have called on federal and state authorities to help resolve this situation.
Gathered in this conference hall of the Nigerian Union of Local Government Employees are officials of the NLC, NUT, NALGE and pressmen. The organized labor, who are not happy with why the state is yet to access its bailout fund from the central bank, have asked its public servants to stay at home. While briefing pressmen, the NLC chairman, Comrade Onu Edoka, says the public servants were made to boycott work to register their grievances.
The protest for which we, the workers of Kogi State, are directed to carry out is to remain at home, to show a sign to the federal government and CBN that our bailout fund has not reached us up to this moment.
Contrary to speculations by some persons that Kogi State did not apply for the fund, Captain Wada, who spoke to Channels Television, explains that the state is one of the first that applied.
The reality is that Kogi applied in August, complied with all the requirements. We are in expectation. If we did not apply, how come the CBN published our name among the states that were approved for bailout funds? And even stated a figure of 50.8 billion for Kogi State. So anybody who says we have not applied is just a complete liar. So if we get it, the workers will get it. I've already set up a committee to administer this bailout fund, so I will not be directly involved. It's to be transparent, and the names and amount due to each individual is clearly specified.
This may not be the end of this issue, as the union leaders say public servants will remain at home until the state is able to access the bailout funds.
Solidarity forever.
UN West Africa representative Mohammed Ibn Chambers says a regional security operation against Boko Haram in West Africa is due to start at the end of the rainy season in a bid to put an end to the militants' offensive in the region. According to Mr. Chambers, the expected joint raids will adapt to the changing tactics of the enemy. Nigerian and Chadian forces early this year forced the militant group, which has sworn allegiance to the Islamic State, to cede large swaths of territory in northern Nigeria. The security situation in Borno State has remained a source of concern to many Nigerians, and this is why all hands have been up to ensure that the defeat of Boko Haram is concluded. Now, how has it been living in Borno State, one of the theaters of war? And joining me now on the News 10 to discuss the situation in Borno State is Mr. Issa Gusau. He's a spokesperson to the governor of the state, Kashim Shettima, as well as the SA on communications and strategy. Good to have you join us this evening on the News at 10.
Thank you so much.
You live in Borno State. Tell us, give us an on-the-spot assessment of what the situation is like at the moment.
Well, the situation, one can look at it from two ways. On one part is that of citizens, particularly in Maiduguri and other parts of the state, particularly in the southern part of Borno, who are not particularly affected, by the insurgency. There is renewed hope. There is very high optimism. Life is coming back, to Maiduguri and other parts of the state. But then, if you look at the other aspect, when you look at those citizens who are displaced, your heart will have to pour out. Because when you visit any of the camps, of course the government is doing everything to provide their needs, but of course when you see somebody who is out of his home, it tells you, a very terrible situation. You see a father, mother, some of them, they don't know where their kids are, they might have been killed, fathers might have been killed, mothers, it's a very terrible situation.
We've seen governors in that region hold a series of meetings on how to bring back some of these infrastructure that have been displaced from that particular part of the country. How well has that been with the governors and specifically in Borno State?
Well, if you recall, the Vice President was in Maiduguri not long ago, I think less than 2 weeks ago, for stakeholders' engagement. I think the idea of that meeting was to organize and organize all the intervention committees, talking about the Presidential Intervention Committee on the Northeast, the Victim Support Fund, and the National Emergency Management Agency, and of course that of the state government. The fact of the matter is that there is so much collaboration between the governors of the government of the Northeast and the federal government, and I think there is a sincerity of purpose, unlike what obtained in the past where there is so much mutual suspicion. They are working very well, and I think everybody is committed to reconstructing the Northeast. And then the most important thing is the political will from the presidency. There is sincerity of purpose. And
very quickly before we go, has there been any difference now that the command center has been moved to that part of the country?
There is absolute difference. While in the past, what obtained in the past was that there was no instant decision-making process. And of course, you know that in the war situation, decision is very important. Now we have the commander of the theater of war, who is in Maiduguri, who in most cases is with the troops at the battlefield. And then the moment that there is a need for him to take decisions, he takes instant decisions. I think that is very important. And of course, the military hardware in the past, which used to be in Maiduguri, everything is now here. And then the communication between the ground troops and the Air Force is now completely enhanced. That is, the commander of the theater of war has absolute powers now to call for air support, and I think that is very important.
Many thanks to General Sunday News at 10, Isaguso. Here's the spokesperson to the governor of Borno State, Kashim Shettima. While the News at 10 returns, our big story tonight focuses on those sabotaging efforts at making fuel available nationwide. Join us again.
There is a place the whole world